You're listening to Overdoing It, the Rhode Island Library podcast. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Overdoing It, where our team of library workers dish about their latest reads, views, and passions, alongside fascinating conversations with local luminaries. I'm your host, Lauren Walker, director of the Coventry Public Library, and my pronouns are she, her. Today I'm joined by Adriana Trigiani, the New York Times best-selling author of 21 books of fiction and nonfiction, including The Good Left Undone, The Shoemaker's Wife, and Lucia, Lucia. Her work has been published in 38 languages around the world. An award-winning playwright, television writer, producer, and filmmaker, Trigiani wrote and directed the major motion picture of her debut novel, Big Stone Gap, adapted her novel Very Valentine for television, and directed the award-winning documentary Queens of the Big Time, among others. Adriana grew up in the mountains of Southwest Virginia, where she co-founded the Origin Project, a year-round in-school writing program that has served over 25,000 students since its inception in 2014. She regularly speaks to book clubs, classrooms, libraries, and literary festivals, and has made regular appearances on NBC's Today Show and Good Day New York with Rosanna Scotto, and hosts the podcast You Are What You Read. And today we are excited to welcome her to the Overdoing It podcast. Hi, Adriana. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I am so happy to be here with you. I'm the daughter of a librarian, so this is my jam. I'm so proud. I love you, librarians.
Oh, we love to get the love wherever we can find it.
I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure of that.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit later in the show, we'll talk about Adriana's new novel, The View from Lake Como, and her upcoming Lake Como Show event at East Providence High School. But before we get to that, let's start out as we always do with, what have you been reading and watching?
Well, I've been reading and watching quite a few things. I've got a bunch of titles to share with you today.
Oh, great.
One of them is Lisa Scottolini's The Unraveling of Julia. Loved it. Now, Lisa's book is a thriller. Coming out in August is Full Bloom by Francesca Saratella, a beautiful novel about a woman who, when she changes her perfume, changes her perspective. It is so fanciful and terrific, beautifully written. Victoria Benton Frank, if this is a familiar name to you, she's the daughter of Dorothea Benton Frank. And if you miss Dorothea, read Victoria. The Violet Hour. This is a wonderful story. There's some fraught people in here, but it is a great summer read. Really enjoyed it. The great Carl Hyacin, Beaver Beach, just came out. It's a page turner. He's one of our national treasures. Just a great, great writer. Very funny. This just came in, and I'm excited to dive into False Claims by Lisa Prata, One Insider's Impossible Battle Against Big Pharma. And for anybody who has to take a pill, this is a book you need to read. Then we've got What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown. Very excited about this one. This is a novel. I think she just got Book of the Month, so very excited to read it. It's a coming-of-age story. For anybody that wants to do a deep dive summer read, this is the one for you. I just finished my friend Taylor Jenkins Reid latest one called Atmosphere.
Ooh.
Oh, this is about two astronauts that come together. It's a love story. It's fantastically rendered, as only Taylor Jenkins Reid can do. And finally, you can see all my notes on this one, Lauren. You'll be laughing.
Oh, wow.
Keith McNally's memoir of being a restaurateur, but really it's about life, more about life than it is about food. I Regret Almost Everything by Keith McNally. There's my summer books for you.
For our listeners, there were probably about, 30 different Post-it notes sticking out from that book.
I'm sure that I do this just like a librarian, and you see words sticking out like Reputation, so you know it's going to be a good one. I like anything that's a life story, and I feel novels are life stories, so you can get fiction or nonfiction.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just finished reading The Removed by Brandon Hobson.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was for my book club, actually. And it's really good. I'm not sure, I guess you would consider it magical realism, but it's about a Cherokee family. And one of their sons died 15 years prior to this book. And they do a bonfire on the anniversary of his death every year to bring the family together and remember him. And so it's kind of like leading up to that bonfire and how the family interacts with each other. But there are elements of like the spirit world in it, and their ancestors coming into it. And it's really interesting. So I can highly recommend that one.
Love that. That sounds fantastic. I love an indigenous story too.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I actually read it twice because I listen to audiobooks, and I find that sometimes when I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm not like totally focused on it. And when it finished, I was like, I feel like I got to read that again. And it was only like 5 or 6 hours. So for an audiobook, it's not that long if I'm like cleaning or driving or whatever. It doesn't take me that long to listen to one. So I was like, I could squeeze in another read before my book club.
I love that. On the watch front, my best friend is the creator and writer, producer, and director of And Just Like That.
Oh, wow.
And I recently had Sarah Jessica Parker and her mom, Barbara Forstay, on my podcast. And so they're prominent in the front of my mind. I find that show a lot of fun. I think it's great. And I just watched the documentary about Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, okay.
I found it fascinating too.
I just started watching this series called Interior Chinatown on Hulu. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't.
So the main character, who's played by Jimmy Yang, is he's a waiter at a Chinese food restaurant, and he has kind of like an obsession with procedural cop dramas. And one of the things about the show is that it'll change like aspect ratio, and the lighting and everything will change, and all of a sudden he's in a procedural cop drama, like of what's happening in his life. But there's something that he has to solve, basically, and there are just some fun elements of how he, as a waiter at a Chinese restaurant, ends up getting himself involved with like detectives and a whole police department and trying to solve something related to his brother who went missing. And it's kind of fun and a little mystery. And yeah, it's something that is pretty unique. I've never seen anything like it before. So I've been enjoying it.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. I love it. See, this is the kind of thing, Lauren, I love that we share these titles with each other, because I don't think there's a central, there used to be a thing called the TV Guide when I was a kid, and you could see everything that was going to be on the TV, from PBS to the major networks and the time. We don't have that anymore. I wonder if somebody's going to come up with that grid. You just kind of have to bounce around and just check on stuff.
I think eventually we're going to reinvent cable.
I think so. I think it's too disparate. Yeah. I think it's too hard to find. And then you have to like look it up. You go, who's streaming X thing, whatever it is. You can't even say X. Isn't that a channel now? It's like something. So it's just very interesting. I mean, I'm managing to find things pretty well, but I wish there was a central place where you could go and this is everything that's on. Now, current programming is there, but not all the movies and stuff.
Right.
And television. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Anytime there's like something specific I want to watch, I just Google where to watch name of thing, because I don't have time to go through all the apps.
Where is it streaming? That's what I do. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, speaking of books, tell me about your new novel, The View from Lake Como.
Well, I love this book. Because I wanted to write a book about kind of a book that I saw this lady. I rewrote the story of my great-grandmother, Giuseppina, from the Veneto in Italy. But I didn't want to set it in 1910. I wanted to imagine if she was born 30 years ago. So she'd be about 34 now. And in other words, to shape it for the moment, as opposed to the moment in 1910 being historical fiction. So I took her life, and that's what I did, Lauren. I imagined a woman who had a craft, and due to circumstances, probably wasn't getting the acknowledgement that she deserved. And she finds herself in a life where her marriage, that no one can understand why it didn't work out, And of course, she questions that, but she knows she did the right thing. And then she starts to look at all of her life. And so this is a story of an Italian American woman on the Jersey Shore who's living in her parents' basement and has to get out. And what does she do to do that?
I love that. I love that change of setting, but keeping the story the same. So you said this was your grandmother or your great grandmother?
Great grandmother. My grandmother on the paternal side's mom.
Okay. And so is like the location, like New Jersey, the same?
Well, she emigrated to the United States with my great grandfather, and there's a story there. And I didn't want to write that story, as I said, but I loved what she did. And I love in fiction to take a character's life trajectory and then give them what they wanted. So my great grandmother died at the age of 42 of pleurisy because she lived on a farm and she had to go out and collect the chickens I'm told this, in a storm from the neighbors.
Wow.
And yeah, not a great story, but my grandmother was on her knees all night praying. So where I get my devout nature, because in my family, that's what you do when something's impossible. And I just loved the notion of this lady, but she only lived to 42. And it got me to thinking, Lauren, like, what happens when people don't get their dream? She always wanted to go home and she never got to go home to Italy again. So that got me to thinking about what choices we make and how that affects the events and trajectory of our lives. And lately, when I'm touring, I have people pull me aside and go, I wish I'd have done this or I wish I'd have done that. And I go, don't wish it, just do it. Just do it. And that's the power of literature. We take you into a world maybe you wouldn't normally enter, and you're transformed by it. You know, they've done this study where if you read a novel, like you want to go to Italy, read my novel. Then you'll either manifest it to make it happen or you've had the experience because it's all in your imagination. That's really a wonderful thing. And I think that that's the essential part of reading, which is that we submit to and we acquiesce to a world and characters that we may not know, and yet we do.
Yeah.
There's something very powerful.
I think so. I had a discussion on another episode of this podcast where we were talking about how nonfiction is learning through facts and fiction is learning through empathy. And it ties in with that whole, you might be reading a story that is not factual, but
right.
These types of people, these types of experiences exist in the world. And if you're not exposed to them, reading a book is a great way to like expand your ideas of the world.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And it's all you need is your public library card to do it.
That's true.
And it's completely available to every citizen in our country.
That's right.
And you know, this is how I was raised. I mean, the first thing we did when we moved to Big Stone Gap in Appalachia was we got our library cards for the bookmobile, county bookmobile, which was the most enchanted vehicle in the world to me, and it still is. You know, if you're suffering or you're in need of change, or if you are confused and in need of illuminata, of a light through the window to help you guide your way, the best place to find every answer is in the library. And my mother used to say that as a librarian, that the answer to any question you have in life can be found in the library.
I love that. I love when other people say lovely things about libraries because then I don't have to, because normally I'm the one who is saying all of it. So
I think it's most important work is the uplifting of the human spirit and the feeding of our souls. I think that's what literature is, because you enter into this sacred space between you and the words, and you're really in communion with the thoughts and the storytelling of a writer who's going to take you places maybe you didn't think you'd go. But what always works about that, or satisfies about that, in the pleasurable aspect of reading, is that you're transported to another place in time, and you somehow can relate what you're reading to your own experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great way to get courage when you're confused about something and you want to change things in your life, is to read.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you just told me about a book for your book club, and I wrote it down, and I'll read it too, and then I'll have a communion with you, Lauren. We have shared titles, and I think that's what it's really all about.
Yeah, I love my book club because it's, I mean, I'm sure you've had the experience with not just books, but also like movies and TV shows. You always recommend to your friends, you've got to read this book, you've got to watch this movie, but like, are they going to? It might be a while before you can discuss that with them. So, what I love about having a book club is that I know that these people at least started the book. I never, am upset if someone didn't get a chance to finish it. Life happens, but it's nice to be able to talk about the book, get different people's perspectives on things, and a lot of the time I'll see things in a new way because of how someone else saw it and I didn't even think of it that way. And then sometimes we all dislike the book and we have a great discussion about what we didn't like about it. So yeah, I think that's a really great thing to do. And like you said, books are just so important and they kind of connect us if we've read the same book, even if we have different ideas about it.
That's right. Which is the essence really of the librarian reader relationship, is the librarian is reading the tea leaves here a little bit with what people want to be reading and then recommending it. I mean, that's fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, thank you. I wanted to ask you, you kind of mentioned it a little bit when talking about the view from Lake Como, but in your books, there seems to be a recurring juxtaposition between the Italian immigrants who came to America searching for a better life, and then their descendants who end up returning to Italy to seek out what some might also call a better life. So, like, the immigrants came to America.
Right.
A lot of the time, I know for my family, it was to be able to make more money and be able to provide for their family. And maybe there was an idea of going back home after they had enough money.
Those are called birds of passage.
Birds
the people
of passage.
that come over to earn money and then return to the homeland with their money that they've saved.
Then if they don't return to their homeland, give it a few generations and someone
they're called Americans.
Yes. Sitting here in their, their unsatisfying day job. And maybe, in some stories, there's a relationship that's not working out or their family isn't making them happy. And where they want to go is back to Italy or back to where their ancestors came from in the first place. And I just think it's interesting, this kind of swap where people came here looking for a better life and now people are trying to go back looking for a better life. And I wonder how long this cycle will continue.
Well, I think there's always some people who long to return because on this side of things, maybe there's a longing there. They miss their grandparents or they miss their parents, or I think that's a very individual thing. And sometimes people don't like the climate in this country and they're thinking, I think I could do better. They want a simpler way of life. They don't want additives in their food, whatever the reason they go to Greece is, right? So all of these are interesting notions. But I think what we discover as we go along is that to be a traditionalist or to honor your roots, you can do that standing wherever you are. You don't necessarily have to return. Of course, I highly recommend travel always. But I think that comes from, again, a sense that what they came from was better than what they got here. And there's not a lot of people that can say that because America has been a wonderful place for all of us. And I think will continue to be. So that longing for home, sometimes, Lauren, it's an age thing. It's like the salmon going upstream or the suds circling the drain. Okay. It's like you want to get it all in before you go. And I understand that. And I understand it as an artist because I've spent 21 books writing about this. And evidently I could keep going for many more books and I still would have lots of stories to tell. So there's something about, am I getting everything out of this life that I can? Am I spending the days, the minutes in my life to the benefit and uplifting of my soul? Have I engaged in a business or an endeavor that feeds my soul? Did I do a job to support my family, which is a noble thing? But I do think people get to a point in their lives where they go, what did I do for me?
Yeah.
And that's a big theme in literature. The Homeric Odyssey in search of meaning. It's a big one.
Yeah.
And that's basically what my character Giuseppina Capodimonte Barata Blanca goes on. Luckily, her nickname is Jess. Brother named her Jess. But it's really true. She knew she wasn't going to find the answers in that basement. She knew it.
Yeah.
She knew she had to bust a move. And then when she's forced to, she finds out she's pretty strong. I think that's the case with most of us. Maybe all of us within the sound of our voices.
I think so. And
We know
I also think it kind of, like, for example, my mom's side of my family immigrated here from Quebec, Canada. And a lot of the Quebecois immigrants were very insular. They didn't want their kids to go to American schools. They wanted them to be in French schools and speak French. And the idea was like, we will go back, and we don't want to lose our culture. And my family didn't go back, but I think about, like, I've taken trips to Canada and I have enjoyed, like, visiting there. And I think it speaks to their success of building a base here, that now my idea of a better life includes traveling back to Canada and connecting with my roots there, and also other family roots in England and Ireland and even Italy. So, yeah.
I love that. And that enriches you and your life experience.
Right.
But the great thing about America is you can love America, but you can also love the country that your people came from.
Yeah.
There's no competition there. And it's the idea of freedom and opportunity. I mean, the American dream isn't really just a dream, because it has been made manifest in many, many people from all over the world. So it's an ideal, maybe an idea, but the fact that we've survived and thrived and gotten an education as you have, this is the highest dream of your ancestors.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? And then you just hold on to that rope, and you go to Canada and you go to Ireland and you go to Italy and you go to these places and you see people that look like you, that are you, but your dreams would only be possible here. And people always ask me that. Well, is that true? But I have cousins in Italy said, you wouldn't be a top novelist in Italy. You were born an Italian girl. And I said, are you kidding me? Even if I had the same level of talent and drive? No. So I love my American life. I love it. And I love this country for that reason. I also love Italy and England and every place I visited, because the people are great, right?
Yeah.
The people are the thing.
Right.
And you can find a friend anywhere you go in this world, anywhere you go. And
Yeah.
I think we'll get back to that in America, where you don't know a stranger. I think we'll get back to that.
I mean, that sounds very nice.
It does, right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. I think, and Lauren, for me, because I'm the daughter of a librarian, it all starts in the library. How can I know this? Because I've read the stories. I know the stories are true.
I always go back to the library is like, it makes me feel happy about the world, even when I don't feel happy about the world. The fact that I come to work at a place that I believe in and I feel does good in the world is always something that I think is fulfilling. And yeah, it's good that we still have public libraries.
Yes, they are the gold standard in this country of community, of coming together in ideas and coming together in possibilities. Your library, my library, these are our national treasures.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's where thought and intellect are born, and they mean everything. And when you find a devotion to the public library, you find a devotion to knowledge and to growth and to a shared vision of a better world.
Yeah, very, very well said.
You can tell I'm the daughter of a librarian.
Yes. Well, and also a writer. I feel like everything you say sounds like it could be in a book.
Well, that's so kind of you. It comes from years of doing this kind of conversation where I sound like an idiot. So I try to think it through as opposed to just blather, which I used to do. Is that fair? Takes practice.
I do think about my responses a little bit more now that I'm a podcaster than I used to. And I was also wondering, I know you've written stories based on your family many different times. I wonder if you think that well is going to dry up, or because you are able to kind of change the setting, change the perspective, if that can continue to be a source of inspiration for you.
Well, it's my source of inspiration, but it's my treasure. And there are many branches, and I'm not going to live long enough, Lauren, to write them all. I'm trying, but I'm not going to reach it. I'm not. I don't care how I'm a 7-day-a-week writer. It's not enough time. And there's stories I really, really want to write that I must get to. I feel it needs to be part of the canon, and then people can discover them long after I'm gone, which would thrill me. Find me in a yard sale for 10 cents. That'd be that's my dream. I'm not kidding. That's my dream. Find me in a yard sale and I subscribe to Aunt Edna. Oh, that'll thrill me to pieces. That really is the truth, because and in terms of dramatizing them, same thing. Somebody will come along, Lauren, in your generation and go, I want to make this is a television show, or this is a movie, or whatever that's going to be in 100 years. I don't even know what's going to be. So I take this sort of as an eternal career profession. The thought, idea, the stories. I mean, look at Jane Austen. They're still doing it. I cannot compare myself to her, and I'm not. But for the people that are interested in what we're talking about, I think it would be great for somebody to interpret it from their lens in a different time and place, which is what I'm doing now.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was it like for you to adapt your own books for the screen? And I know you also directed Big Stone Gap, so that probably was like its own separate adventure as well as adapting it.
Well, the process of writing for television is one thing. It's very much not for a television movie. That can usually be one person or two, but it was just me for Very Valentine. I had a great producer on that, Larry Sinitsky, who guided that into production and cast my grandmother with Jacqueline Bisset, which still makes me laugh because she's so beautiful and youthful. I don't know. I thought that was funny. But when I did Big Stone Gap, it was really a personal project, Lauren. I mean, I kept turning down offers to shoot it in other countries and do it cheaper, and which we did it very cheaply, but we did it in my hometown, Big Stone Gap. And I raised money to bring it there. And then I had producers, of course, that did their bit to raise the money. And it was done on a low budget, but the script got the actors. I'd send it to people that I knew and go, you want to do this? I'm directing? Sure. And so it unspooled, and there were some actors added in as we went along, which was great. And it's how I like to work. So you would have Patrick Wilson in a scene with a kid I went to high school with that had never acted. And that's how I like to do it, because I think it's full of surprise. I learned a lot doing it, and I loved doing it. And I'm proud of the movie. Ashley Judd was exquisite. Every actor in it, Judy Ivey, Whoopi Goldberg, Tony LaPaglia, John Benjamin Hickey, Jasmine Guy. I mean, I could keep going. Jenna Elfman. They were beautiful in it. And we hunkered in and made a moment there. And so the adaptation of it, you lose a lot of storylines when you write a book into a film. And so some people were like, where's this? Where's that? If I were doing it today, Lauren, it would be a series. So I wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah. Series are great for adapting books.
Yeah. You can get it all in if you want. But a book is just not a translation into dramatizing. I'm initially a playwright. See, I'm in show business.
Right.
So I knew that before I knew novel writing. So when I write a novel, it's a completely different trajectory. But when you adapt it into film, dramatizing means putting it on its feet for the living moment. And I start with the notion that a book is a living thing. And then I'm going to put those people on their feet. And then you bring in the actor who will embody and play the character from their point of view in the story of how they fit into it. And that's always a revelation. That's always the fun part for me, is to watch them go, and then the design of it and the mood of the world and the music and the feeling, and then the threads of the narrative arcs of the characters and how you pull them all together I just loved it. Did you say I didn't love it? I love it. I want to do it again. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it also must have been, I don't know if the decision to direct it came from were you like, I want this to be a movie, but only if I have like the creative control over it? Or how did that come about that you wanted to direct it in addition to adapting it? Because I would imagine it would be easier for, if I had written a book, I would want to adapt it myself and direct it myself if it was going to be a movie. That way I know that the parts that are the most significant for me are kept in and are done well. And yeah.
Well, I think I've been directing since the 11th grade.
Right.
And then I studied it. And then I came to New York and I had a comedy troupe, which plays into the East Providence. I don't want anybody in Rhode Island to miss this show. I want you to be there, Lauren. You got to come. It benefits the East Providence Library Foundation, which is really important. But we're in a brand new big theater at East Providence High School that has all the bells and whistles. And I'm bringing the band, and it's a night of comedy and storytelling. It's like something you would see if you came to New York on stage. It's that good. And it tells the story of the characters behind a lot of the books I've written. So
this is, I'd like to lead into that. This is the Lake Como Show event.
It's called the Lake Como Show with Mike Trigiani and the Predictables. And if you love the Big Stone Gap movie and some of the music in it, John Leventhal was a composer, but my brother Michael performs on the soundtrack and created music for the movie too, which John then incorporated into the body of the work, which I'm very proud of. And I think my brother's really funny. My other brother, that's Michael. And then my other brother, Carlo, is our tour manager. And what we're doing is we're coming to the places where we feel that the show will send stardust into the atmosphere. And Rhode Island is one of my favorite places, and I didn't get to come up there for the Good Left Undone. And this is what we're doing. And we found a way to serve the community doing it.
That's excellent. So tell me a little bit about the show. What is like the format of it? Is it kind of like a play, or is it sort of different segments?
I felt that the book tour was getting a little stale for me. Okay. Now I love to be in conversation, and I'm doing a lot of it at the end of the tour, but that's specific to those arenas, and I'm thrilled to do it. But I wanted to do book with ticket, number one. And I wanted to, because I've been doing this for 25 years. It's my 25th anniversary. And I said, I want to do it differently, bringing everybody that has read me and that I love. But I want the show to be spectacular. So I have been doing basically stand-up for 25 years. As my life unspooled, so did my work life. So the reader has been my, the reader has been my important, essential, give and take audience. They explained to me about having children. We shared our lives. All of these things wound up in the novels. And I thought, I want to do a show where not only am I expressing that gratitude, but I want it to be about this Italian-American family that I come from and what's happened to us and how we got here and the role of the woman in the family. Not that different from the Irish, not that different from the German, not that different from the Czech, not that different from the Russian, not that different from the African. No, we're all one thing. But this Italian thing is hilarious. So I said, okay, I'm coming out as the middle child and I'm going to do the show. So it's a story really of all the women in my family, and I play them, and we do a whole night of it, and they're going to be familiar to you. You're going to see your great aunts and your grandmother and all of them up there.
That sounds fantastic.
Really fun. Really fun. And how about this? We're emotionally standing on these stories that I've had the benefit of doing for the last 25 years. I think that's the best part.
Right.
21 books and novels. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be an incredible show. And this is at the, you said it's at the East Providence High School Theater. It's been newly renovated. And this is on July 11th. And where can our listeners purchase tickets to this event?
Easy peasy. Go to adrianatrigiani.com, scroll down to the show you want to go to. And when you purchase your tickets, know that you're getting the book, number one. And number two, we want you to submit your family wedding photos. And there's a little prompt there. So please do, because there's a number in the show that involves you. And I want your grandparents up there, your parents, you, whoever you want there in that whole trajectory.
I love that.
It's a way of thanking you, and it's a way of elevating the whole story writing process that I've done for 25 years.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that the ticket also comes with a book. Is that correct?
That's right. You get the View from Lake Como, an autographed copy, when you come to the show, which is really wonderful. And I just got a report the tickets are moving fast in Rhode Island, so hurry, because we only have so many seats there, but we don't want you to miss out.
Yes, and this episode will be airing just in time for that. So hopefully
Great.
people will be able to scoop up any last minute tickets that are available.
I hope so. I hope so. Please don't miss it. I'd love to see you. And it
That's
benefits
great.
your library. So there you go. Perfect.
What could be better than that?
Nothing. I don't think anything.
Well, we wrap up the show with a segment called The Last Chapter, where we talk about a library or bookish related question. And today I wanted to ask if you could rewrite a book from another character's point of view, what book and character would you choose?
Wow, that is a profoundly great question. Let me think. I would consider, because I just did a short story for this book, Ladies in Waiting. It's in honor of Jane Austen's 250th anniversary as a published author.
Okay.
And I wrote a short story from the perspective of Mary, the sister who kind of was a bad piano player.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned her into a piano teacher.
I love that.
So if I was going to do it, I would do Mary. And Mary is the put upon daughter at home with the parents after her sisters have all moved to the suburbs in this modern retelling. So that's what I would turn into a novel.
Very interesting. My favorite book of all time is East of Eden by John Steinbeck.
It's a great one.
And it's a great one. Such a good book. But pretty much all of the main characters are men. And I think I would try to rewrite it from one of the female characters' point of view. Maybe the villain of the story. We can call her Kathy. She has like 3 different names in the book.
That's right.
Yeah. Or maybe even Sam Hamilton's wife, whose name is escaping me now. I don't remember what her name is, but she just holds their whole family together and is like the one that they all rely on. And I think that the book from her point of view could also be very interesting.
Yes. I mean, these stories but you have to know John Steinbeck was thinking men.
Well, yeah.
Because he's John Steinbeck.
Yeah.
But what a great idea. You know, I'm going down to Virginia. By the time this airs, I will have done this I'm honored to be a part of Barbara Kingsolver's opening of the Higher Ground Women's residential treatment facility for drug addiction in Lee County, Virginia, in Pennington Gap, which is very close to where I grew up, 5 miles down the road. And I'm going down. Silas House, another great novelist, is going down. Barbara Kingsolver, I think, is our greatest living American novelist. I do. And to go down there, and she lives in Appalachia, where I grew up, and to just see how she's gotten her hands in the dirt to change things for the better, all based on the novel Demon Copperhead, which I don't know if you've read. You should read it.
It just came in on hold for me, so I will be reading it very soon.
Perfect, because she based Demon Copperhead on David Copperfield. So when you talk about taking East of Eden, so if you're going to write a novel, Lauren, I love the idea that you're coming at when the retelling of it. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I think it's always interesting when things are rewritten from another perspective.
I do too. I mean, The Wide Sargasso Sea. Jane Eyre is one of my probably my favorite novel of all time. I reread it every year because I think Jane is a miracle of a character. I just think she is. And then to read The Wide Sargasso Sea from the point of view of Bertha in the attic.
Oh, see, I haven't read that. Now
you must read it. Write that down
on my list. Yeah,
read Jane Eyre this summer, and then read Wide Sargasso Sea, and we'll have a book club. We'll come together and talk about it because it's really phenomenal.
That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is such a good conversation.
Because I have a podcast, I must compliment you. You're amazing at this, and I'm so proud of you. And if you need me, call me.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, sweetie.
I want to encourage our listeners to buy Adriana's new novel, The View from Lake Como, out July 8th, or borrow it from your local library and check out the Lake Como show on Friday, July 11th at 7 p.m. at East Providence High School Theater. Tickets are $45, and that includes the show and an autographed copy of the book. You can follow Adriana on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Adriana Trigiani, and on TikTok at Adriana Trigiani Author. And you can find her podcast, You Are What You Read, wherever you're listening to this podcast. Overdoing It is proud to be a resident partner of the Rhode Island Center for the Book and brought to you by library staff and community members all around the Ocean State. The project has been funded in part by the Rhode Island Office of Library and Information Services. If you'd like to share your answer to our last chapter question, send us an email at overdoingitpod@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at overdoingitpod. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate and review us to help us reach more Rhode Islanders. Thank you for listening, and this has been another episode of Overdoing It, the Rhode Island Library Podcast. We're overdoing it, but you're doing just fine.
I'm going to start listening to you all the time now.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please.